So today we're actually going to talk about what to do and what to do when you have a sick camel. And we're going to sort of go through a little bit of a checklist, and I will put up a fancy looking checklist so that you can print it off at any time and, you know, go through a checklist. So basically what to do when your camel is sick, and what a sick camel actually means as well. And also when to call a vet, because some of us rush into calling vets and the vets just kind of give, like, it might not be necessary at that time, and other times we leave it too late. So we're going to have a bit of a chat about that today with Margie. Is there a particular place that you want to start with this sick camel thing and the checklist?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple of different ways to think about it. When you say a sick camel, there's a few questions that you've got to ask yourself certainly before you ring a vet. One of the first things that we do as vets, if someone calls us, is we take a history. And that's why sometimes you might have a question. You might have oh my gosh, my camel's got a sore leg or has been limping. And we start asking questions like, is it male or female? Is it castrated? How old is it? What food is it on? Where is it kept? What do you do with your camel? And I haven't even asked you which leg it's limping on. How sore is it? And it's not that I'm going to get there, but the history is super important. Because whenever vets ask these questions that you might think, why is she asking this? Like, I rang for a sore leg.
She's just being nosy.
Yeah. What? I mean, I'm not going to ask you what your, gross income is or anything, but I'm just going to.
That's next.
Can you imagine? Hey, how much money you make? How's your marriage? I'm going to ask questions that give me a framework to sort of visualize your camel, whether it's on the phone or even if I'm at the property. Because for you're standing there looking at your camel. You've been looking at it for weeks. That's all you're focused on, okay? And owners can get really fixated on one thing that they think is wrong. And the reason why you call a vet isn't just to get the vet to give you what you think it needs to fix it. The idea is to get an opinion on it. So the animal might be limping, but if I see that it's a particular age or a particular sex and it's been fed a particular thing, it might have urate crystals in its joints. Like I might hear all these things and then I think, it might even have like a gout situation, so I need all the history. So when you've got a camel that you don't think is right, firstly, back yourself, because you know the camel, the vet doesn't. If you don't think the camel's right, back yourself. My theory is if it's a locomotor problem, so if it's a limping or if it's a sore leg, that's not really an emergency. You might find that it might have just come on suddenly, or you might find that it's been there a couple of weeks. If it's been there a couple of weeks, it is not an emergency. So you can wait, if it's a Sunday, wait until the Monday. Otherwise, you're just going to be paying for an after-hours fee that you really don't need. If it's a chronic problem, calling the vet immediately, it's a little bit late. You may as well wait 24 hours, get some more information. And that information is what the animal is used for, how old it is, what sex it is, what it eats, if it's with other animals. So you really need to give the vet an idea of location. And that's really important for us because our brain starts ticking over as soon as you start speaking. The whole idea of vet is trying to get a list of differential diagnoses. So we're trying to get a list of, 6 to 10 things that we think it is. And from that, then we start to go into what tests we need to do.
Yeah.
So that history taking is super important. Also in that history is when it was last wormed, when it was last moved to that paddock, if it's just been put in that paddock, if you've introduced another animal. Yeah. All these things are so freaking important to at least even think about when you've got a sick camel. So don't just look at what the camel is showing you, whether it's a wound or diarrhea or whatever. That's the symptom of the illness or the symptom of the problem. And remember, as a vet, we're trying to find the problem. That's why we do all these damn tests that cost money and take time. Okay, the symptom is diarrhea. Everybody rings up and go, I want something to stop the diarrhea. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to help you with that because I need to find out why it's happening. I want something, I need a painkiller for my animal limping.
Yeah, it's not like a camel. It's not like a camel can say, oh, I had some bad Chinese last night. That's why I have diarrhea.
Or this bastard donkey that you're making me hang out with kicked the bejesus out of me and my ribs are really sore. So I'm walking funny.
Or I'm stressed,
I'm stressed, I'm sore. So you look at the symptom, but we have to find the problem.
Yeah.
And I also don't expect clients to try and find the problem. I mean, it's good to be inquisitive and think about stuff, but don't feel bad if you can't work it out, or don't feel bad if the vet comes in and says, oh, you put it in that paddock and it's got wild tobacco in there. You're not supposed to know. That's what we're trained to do. So many times I get owners feeling guilty that they didn't know. And remember, if you don't know better, you do better when you know better.
Yeah.
We're trained to do it. We're not coming in to be smart asses. We're trained to find the problem. So that would be my first thing, is whenever you call the vet or whenever you see the symptom of a sick camel, take a history of yourself, take a history of the animal on your property for that last week. Now, what is a sick camel? A sick camel is an animal that is not doing what it normally does. These animals are part of your family, whether they are for commercial use or just a pet. They're part of your family. You know them better. I always
what I'm getting here is, just to recap the first one, is we want information. We want history, of all the age, the sex.
It's called
everything you know about the camel and its husbandry needs. And then so I'm coming up with little rhymes because I love things that just rhyme. So we want information, and then I think what you're trying to say now is we want observation. Coming up with little, rhyming things. So
I want information on the situation that you're in. Are you in America? Is everything frozen? Are you in Australia? Are you on the East Coast where it's all hot and grassy? I need information of your situation, and then we need observation of the animal. So I want to hear, how long has it been limping? What type of limp? Is it even limping, or is it just not walking right? Can it get up? Can it sit down? Has it got diarrhea? Is it losing food out of its mouth? Has its poo, is it runny, or has it got big chunks of food in it still? Is it just not itself? I mean, an animal, someone saying the camel is not itself, that's fine. I like hearing that, because then I know, okay, that usually means it's not eating, it's not walking around as much, it's not as communicative, it's not as, it's not
separated from the herd,
it's just not normal. And that then strikes us on a path. So I think it's really important for everyone to know that vets, when we're talking to you, we are trying to get a list of differential diagnoses, and they are all different things. Now, some of them might have nothing to do with your situation, but we have to go through them thoroughly. And here's a good example. Say you've taken your dog to the vet and the dog's clearly limping on its left front leg. I bet 9 times out of 10, the vet will start to palpate the good leg, the leg that it's walking in fine on. And every single time the owner goes, no, it's the other leg.
Mm-hmm.
And we go, yeah, I know. But what we have to do is see what's normal first before we can see what's abnormal.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to feel on that leg, because if I just go straight to the sore leg and go, oh, there's a lump there, well, there could be a lump on the other leg in exactly the same spot. So it's really important to allow the vet and allow yourself to think of all the different things. Don't focus on the symptom. Just give an assessment of what you see, observation. That's a good one. Just observe. Don't try and work out the problem before you've got all the facts.
Yeah, for sure. So we're looking for facts in the observation. We're looking for facts like, what have you witnessed in the past few days? When did you think this issue started happening? Let's do a poo analysis.
Always got to have poo. Always got to have poo. And I don't even care. Like, I'm serious. If you have a camel with a discharge, like a mucousy discharge coming out of its nose, I want a poo sample.
Yeah.
And you might think, is she high? Like, she's got the wrong end. But I need
She loves poo.
This woman loves poo. I'll give you an example. I had a client ring the other day, discharge out of its nose bilaterally, sometimes unilaterally, so that's just one. And I needed a poo sample. They'd been to a vet and it had lots of antibiotics and all of that sort of stuff, and they'd taken swabs, they'd done all the right thing. It ended up having nasal bots. So it ended up having these worms that live in their nose.
They're awful.
They're disgusting, and freaky. But I asked for a poo sample and she's like, why? It's got a nose problem. I said, because I want to see if your animal is sick with worms, which means its immune system is going to be, not up to scratch. It's going to be working on the worms. I need to see if your animal has any other problems. I'm not just focused on the nose.
And to us, I think as members who have been here for a while, we understand how important it is to have the parasite tests, and that's really the key thing in your whole camel management, is to have regular parasite tests, because we know they don't have an immunity to worms. So if they're battling worms, then there's going to be a whole pile of other issues they're going to come from that, whether that be skin issues, whether that be bots up the nose or whatever it is, that their immune system's already down. So for people who've been here for a while, that would make complete sense. And if you haven't been here for that long, definitely go through the parasite control program that we did here with Margie, because that will just explain everything.
Yeah, it is very important. That makes me now come across with, I think about what else can you do as a camel owner? What information do you collect? Do you take its temperature? The camel's normal temperature range is about 6 degrees. Our temperature range is about 0.6 of a degree. Yeah. Okay. So if you've got a range of 6 degrees in a normal camel on any given day, I personally don't find the temperature a very accurate record. The other thing is, it seems silly, but you do have to learn how to take a temperature. It's literally not just a thermometer up the bum, because then you're just taking temperature of the poo that's sitting there.
That's right.
You've got to angle it to the side and put it into the mucosa and hold it for a certain amount of time. So don't worry so much about temperature. Weight loss, honestly, is one of the biggest indicators of chronic disease. So weight loss / we've talked about this before, body condition score.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure as part of the academy, there's a body condition score chart. If there's not, they are actually really easy to find on the internet, even for camels.
Yep.
Take a note of body condition score. For me, I prefer weight, but not everyone has gigantic scales. But I also know that you've got the weight tape. Super important. Because if that camel's lost 50 kilos in a month, we have a real problem. But if that camel's lost 50 kilos in a year, it's more of a slow, low grade. I would say that's more of a nutritional deficiency rather than an immediate issue.
And I can really vouch for this, because we have a camel with osteodystrophy, and he just couldn't put weight on him. And ultimately, when we got on top of his parasite issue, his osteodystrophy sort of symptoms, like he didn't seem so arthritic all the time. He's put on 50 kilograms since, well, that was 2 months ago when I measured him up. Yeah, and he's happy. You know, he's with the herd now. He's not separated. So it's so important to go through this checklist, because if I had this, like, you know, a year ago, he was on the brink of death. Like, I honestly thought he was going to die on us. But luckily, you know, for your information, that we got on top of it. So yeah, he's doing real good now.
And now you know the reason why he was so arthritic and his dystrophy was getting worse is because he wasn't absorbing any calcium from his diet, because the worms were getting it all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why poo's important. So he had osteodystrophy on his head, but yet I asked for a poo sample.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I mean? So just take the information. So I want a poo sample, I want a weight or a body condition score reduction plan, or like not plan, a body condition score reduction over the last 6 months.
Yep.
The other thing is I want to see, a really good thing is have a look at their head and see if it's all symmetrical. Okay, I'm talking about osteodystrophy here. I'm also talking about swelling under the neck, and I'm talking about swelling under the stomach, especially for females in front of the udder. Also for males around their abdomen, so at the lowest point, like just behind the pedestal. If they're swelling there and it's squishy, so if it's going, you know, like those stupid toys that kids get, the squishies, and you squish them in and it sort of imprints. If there's a swelling and it's squishy and it imprints, that's a problem. We need to know that, to say he's really swollen. If his ankle, I call them ankles because everyone can identify with where it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if their feet are swollen, just swollen, and if you can press on them and it stays an imprint, that's really significant. It's called ventral edema.
Hey, just quickly, how would you like access to the full tutorial on this camel topic? Become a member of our Camel Academy now, and you not only get access to this camel information, but a whole library of camel information. The Camel Academy is an online portal for camel owners and camel lovers just like you, which consists of a library of camel information, including entertaining camel vet talks and procedures, camel handling techniques and camel psychology talks, access to the latest and greatest info on camel husbandry and well-being, even workshops on how to make your own camel equipment, and of course a forum to ask your camel questions to camel professionals. This is just a glimpse on what you'll get access to in the Camel Academy. It's the camel flicks for the camel lover. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. Come join us, our resident camel vet, and a community of camel connectors worldwide over at camelleeracademy.com. That's CAMELEER academy.com.